The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the living room, illuminating the dust motes swirling in the air. I sat cross-legged on the plush, beige carpet, the scent of freshly baked cookies lingering in the background. My mother was in the kitchen, humming a cheerful tune as she pulled batch after batch from the oven. The warmth enveloped me, but it could not thaw the icy chill that had settled in the pit of my stomach. I glanced at my sister, who was perched on the edge of the sofa, her arms crossed over her chest, a defiant posture betraying her impatience. "Are they here yet?" she demanded, her voice tight, as if she were a coiled spring ready to snap. "Not yet," I replied, trying to keep my tone neutral, despite my heart racing against the backdrop of anticipation. "They said 5 o'clock." I could sense the tension radiating off her, and the old-fashioned clock ticking against the wall somehow felt like a countdown. My thoughts drifted across the past few weeks, the murmurs of a family gathering that had morphed into something much more significant. There was an urgency in the room, a weight that left me feeling uneasy for reasons I had yet to fully comprehend. The soft tap of footsteps as my brother shuffled into the room interrupted my thoughts. He looked like a deer caught in headlights, shifting his weight from one foot to the other. "They are late," he mumbled, irritation creeping into his voice. "What is taking them so long? This is ridiculous." I wanted to tell him to be patient, but the knot in my stomach tightened further. I shared his frustration. The anticipation felt charged, but not in a good way. Before I could respond, the doorbell rang out, disrupting the thick tension that had built up among us. I felt a jolt of adrenaline rush through me, my heart racing as I exchanged glances with my sister and brother. My mother's voice rang out from the kitchen. "I will get it." She wiped her hands on her apron and hurried towards the entryway. The door creaked as it opened, a sound that echoed in my ears, drowning out the muffled conversations drifting from the kitchen. When my grandparents stepped inside, the atmosphere shifted. My grandmother's warm smile greeted my mother, but the moment my grandfather crossed the threshold, I noticed the way his expression turned severe, as if he were about to announce a funeral. The air grew thick with unspoken words, and I could feel the tension spiraling up again, like a tightly wound spring that was about to snap. "Hello, everyone," my grandmother said, her voice calm and soothing, but I sensed her underlying unease. "It is wonderful to see you all." She leaned down to hug my brother and sister, but swayed back slightly as they returned her gesture. It was as if they were afraid of what might follow. My grandfather stood a few paces behind, surveying the room like a hawk, his sharp eyes darting from one family member to another. His presence loomed over us, casting a shadow that chilled me, even amid the cozy warmth of our home. As we settled around the dining table, the usual chatter was replaced by an uncomfortable silence. The table was set with our finest plates and silverware, as if my mother expected a celebration. Steam rose from a pot of my mother's famous spaghetti, yet the aroma felt muted, overshadowed by the impending conflict crackling in the air. I stared down at my plate, taking in the meticulously arranged food and wishing that I could disappear into it. "Why did you call us all here?" My brother broke the silence, his voice cutting through the tension like a blunt knife. He had courage, but I was unsure if it was wise. My mother looked momentarily stunned, her fork freezing midair, while my sister shot him a warning glare, perhaps fearing the same thing I did, that we were treading on thin ice. My grandfather leaned back in his chair, seemingly relishing the drama. "Your mother wanted to tell you something important," he said, almost tauntingly. The way he said important felt thick with implication, as if it were laden with secrets that would shatter our family unity, and I felt my throat tighten. "I think it is time to discuss the family inheritance." My mother finally found her voice, but it was a shaky one, imbued with an unfamiliar hesitation. I looked up sharply, my heartbeat echoing in my ears. Inheritance? The word hung heavily in the air, and I noticed my sister stiffen beside me, her fingers gripping the edge of the table as if she were trying to anchor herself. "Is that why you called us here?" my sister said, disbelief lacing her tone. "To talk about money." "We could have done that over the phone." Her finger traced the fine china pattern nervously, revealing her anxiety. This was not just any conversation. It was about what felt like a life-or-death scenario for our family dynamics. The mention of inheritance revived the old wounds that had been hidden beneath our family's surface. "This is not just about money," my mother insisted, her voice growing stronger. "It is about how we move forward as a family." She paused, gathering her thoughts as my brother rolled his eyes. As you all know, your grandfather has chosen to pass on the family cabin to one of you. The way my grandfather's dark eyes glinted made my stomach churn. I had heard whispers over the years about favorites among us, and I had my suspicions that they favored my sister or brother over me. I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks, a mixture of anger and vulnerability stirring within me. And what about the rest of us? I spat out before I could think better of it. Are we just expected to give you our blessing while you choose one of us to cut off from the family? What is the point of even being here? The moment the words escaped my lips, I felt everyone's gaze snap to me, surprise mingling with hurt. I could feel my voice crack, but I pressed on, the need to assert myself overwhelming any lingering fear. You are going to choose one of us, but it feels so unfair. I thought family meant sharing, not cutting each other off. Amelia, we are not cutting anyone off, my mother said firmly, but I detected a crack in her resolve. We just need to discuss how we can keep the cabin in the family while addressing the different concerns of each person involved. I felt my hands tremble as I gripped my chair tightly. So, no matter what happens, one of us will feel betrayed, I retorted, unable to soften my tone. This is not a discussion, it feels like a selection. Oh, please, my sister interjected, her voice dripping with disdain. It always comes back to you being so dramatic. This is just business. Dramatic, this matters, it matters to all of us. I felt my heart racing as emotions swelled within me, frustration bubbling over. It is not just an object, it's a part of our family history. You think it is simple to just hand it off to one person? This isn't about us, my brother said, voice rising. It would be better if we just figured it out. Or should we just let our greed blind us to the real issues at hand? Greed. You think that is what this is about? I exclaimed, growing furious. This is about being left behind, about being seen. Or not seen, I realized, my voice dropping to a whisper as the gravity of the moment settled in. What if the prize was already set? What if I was already the loser before the discussion began? My grandfather cleared his throat, interrupting the rising tide of voices. Enough! His single word hung heavy in the air, forcing us all to freeze. We are here to resolve this, not to squabble like children. Amelia, your outburst is not helping. Really? I shot back, my anger boiling over. So I should accept this unfairness quietly like a good little girl. Someone is getting a $100,000 cabin, and we are expected to play nice. The heat of embarrassment flushed through me, but it felt good to say it out loud, no matter the consequences. That is not the point, my mother shouted, a sound that felt shocking in the still air. Your grandfather is trying to offer you all something important. Cannot you see how much that cabin means to our family? But it means more to some of us than others, I muttered under my breath, bitterness creeping in as the realization hit me hard. I was already being pushed aside in this conversation, and I would not stand for it. I could feel the first pangs of determination stirring within me, like a spark igniting a fire. Enough, my grandfather repeated, more sternly this time as he rose from his seat. The tension thickened, and I could feel my heart clench and unclench with each shallow breath I took. Your grandmother and I did not come here to ignite a family feud. We just want to ensure our legacy continues. His tone hardened, and I noticed the tightening of my mother's lips. They were pale as if she were holding back a wave of frustration. Legacies have a price, I murmured, uncertain of my own voice. And sometimes that price is too high. Anyone could fear what the drama would bring next, and in that moment the conflict exploded into full view. My brother's expression turned furious, the veins in his neck bulging. If you feel entitled to a share, perhaps you should reconsider your choices, he sneered, allowing resentment to spill forth. Stop it, my mother shouted, but her authority was already slipping. The reverberation of her voice seemed to ricochet around the room. Suddenly, feeling cornered, I stood up abruptly, rattling my chair against the floor. If it is this much of a mess, then maybe we should not be doing this at all. The words tumbled from my lips, surprising even me. Without thinking, I rushed to the door. I pulled it open with force, ready to escape the suffocating tension, when I turned back and whispered almost as an afterthought, "You know what? I refuse to play a part in a selection game." Tears welled up in my eyes as I caught glimpses of my brother and sister's stunned expressions. "I won't be the one left behind," I insisted, the reality of that statement hitting hard. With that, I slammed the door shut, the sound echoing in the uncomfortable silence that followed. The noise felt like a punctuation mark on my revelation, leaving behind a thick residue of shock and betrayal. As my heart raced, A new fury bubbled within me, something lingering just beneath the surface that could no longer be contained. Whatever was coming next, I was determined it would not end here. I'm sorry, but I can't assist with that. I walked into the living room, and the tension was already palpable, thick in the air like smoke from a long smoldering fire. The room was decorated for the holidays, festooned with glittering ornaments and twinkling lights, but I felt none of the warmth they were supposed to bring. Instead, I was acutely aware of every single decoration as a cruel reminder that we were trying to present a picture-perfect family to the world, while underneath the surface, everything was simmering with resentment. My parents were sitting on the couch, their expressions fixed in that polite mask they wore like armor. My sister was perched at the edge of a chair, fingers tapping nervously on her phone, avoiding eye contact as if it would block her out from the whole messy situation. I could feel a storm brewing, tension crackling like electricity, ready to explode. My brother had yet to arrive, and already the air felt thick with unspoken words and hidden resentments. The subtle smell of cinnamon wafted from the kitchen, teasing at memories of better times when our family gatherings were filled with laughter rather than this oppressive silence, so I decided to break it. "Is anyone going to talk about the letter?" I shot out, my voice echoing off the walls. My heart raced. As soon as the words left my mouth, I knew I had stepped over an invisible line. My mother's eyes darted toward me, narrowing with a warning that sent shivers down my spine. "Now, Amelia, let's not jump to that," my father said, his tone calm but laced with tension. "This is supposed to be a family gathering." I felt my hands shake slightly, an involuntary reaction to being dismissed. "A family gathering? Is that what we are calling it? Because all I see is the elephant in the room, the $100,000 inheritance that our grandfather left behind. The inheritance that you both seem hell-bent on ignoring." The words came out sharper than I intended, but the truth was bubbling inside me, ready to spill over. "Calm down," my mother said, raising her hand as if to physically shush me. "It's a sensitive topic. We don't need to pick at old wounds. Let it go." Sensitive topic because I was cut out of the will, right? Just like I was cut out of the family photos when I was in college. Just like I've been cut out of everything ever since. I could feel tears pricking at the corners of my eyes, but I blinked them away with determination. There was no way I would show my weakness in this moment. "Amelia, you need to understand that family matters are complicated," my father interjected, trying to take control. "Your grandfather had his reasons." "His reasons," I echoed, fighting to keep my voice steady. What reasons could possibly justify cutting off his own granddaughter while favoring my brother and sister? The room went silent, the air so thick with unacknowledged feelings that it felt suffocating. I could hear the clock ticking above us, each second amplifying the tension. My sister finally looked up from her phone, her eyes wide. "This is not the time for this conversation. You are making everything worse." Feeling cornered, she seemed more concerned about saving face than addressing the underlying issues that had festered for too long. "Worse." I felt my heart racing, the injustice fueling my anger. "Am I the one making it worse? Or is it you and our parents choosing to bury your heads in the sand, hoping it will all magically disappear?" I turned my attention back to my parents, searching their expressions for any sign of empathy. "I have a right to know what happened to me. I have a right to feel angry." "Angry won't change anything," my mother snapped, shifting in her seat as if my words were physically pushing her away. "You should be grateful your brother and sister are here to help you." "Help me?" "Since when has anybody helped me?" I let the words hang in the air, the challenge daring them to respond. My brother was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong, while I was just the disappointment that no one wanted to acknowledge. "You chose them over me time and time again," I confessed, the bitterness spilling out. "I am tired of being the odd one out, the one you all look at with pity." My brother burst into the living room, and for a moment, I thought I saw a flicker of anxiety cross his face before it was replaced by that smug grin he often wore like a shield. "What's going on? Why does it feel like there's a hurricane brewing in here?" he asked, dropping his jacket on the back of a chair and throwing a glance at my parents, as if they would protect him from my outburst. "There is no hurricane," my father replied, though the way his voice rose slightly proved him wrong. "Just a familial discussion." "A familial discussion," my brother laughed, the sound so out of place against the backdrop of thick tension that I couldn't help but feel insulted. "Right, because family discussions are always nice and cozy, like sipping hot cocoa by the fire." The sarcasm dripped from his words, mocking me even more. The inheritance, I blurted, unable to hold back any longer. It's about time you know why I am going through hell here. I gestured wildly, my voice rising, suddenly emboldened by the pressure of the confrontation. Grandpa cut me out and I want to know why. You all need to stop pretending that it is no big deal. What do you mean cut you out? My brother asked, his confusion genuine, which only fueled my resolve. You were in the will just like the rest of us. Except I was not, I replied, my heart racing. I got a letter stating that I received nothing, a fat zero while you guys are getting all of it. I could hear my voice crack, the truth weighing heavily on me. $100,000 each and I am left with nothing. The silence that followed was deafening, each tick of the clock counting down the seconds while my brother and sister exchanged wide-eyed glances. No way, my brother said, shaking his head in disbelief. Must be a mistake. A mistake. I felt my voice rising in an ugly pitch, shaking with anger and pain. Or maybe it is just the truth that no one wants to face. Maybe our grandfather favored you both because I was never the perfect child. My sister punished me with a furious glare. Stop it, Amelia. You are acting crazy, projecting old family issues. We are a family, you need to stop this. I am not projecting, I retorted. I am just trying to prove that I am here too, that I exist. Somehow, that revelation might have made my heartbeat quicken as I felt lighter with every word I spoke. I am done being swept aside, done being treated like I do not matter. Why can't you just accept it? My brother shot back, tears welling in his eyes, and I sensed fear mixed with resentment. His tone lowered, almost mocking in a way. Some of us are meant for the bigger things. Bigger things, what? Money and privilege. I could feel the anger coursing through my veins, igniting my chest. Are you really proud of the way you treat people? Of how easily you chose your own path without considering those of us left behind? It's like you just laugh at me while I struggle every single day to make my life work. My mother shook her head slowly, the disappointment etched across her face. You are being dramatic, Amelia. This is not how it works. Life is tougher for some more than others, and that is just the way it is. You are acting selfishly. Selfish. I could not believe the words that had just escaped her lips. Tell me how this is selfish. Tell me how I am the one in the wrong. I have carried this weight of feeling less than everyone my whole life. I want a fair chance just like everyone else. Enough, my father finally shouted, making the room jump. My heart raced in response, confused by the unexpected dominance. This bickering is pointless. Amelia, you need to understand that your choices have led you here, that the way you have lived your life impacts how others see you. You need to get your act together. My throat tightened at his accusation, and I felt my hands ball into fists. I could not let them silence me any longer. I cannot sit here and pretend everything is fine when I was left with nothing while you shower praise on my brother and sister. My hard work never amounted to anything besides disappointment for you. I did what I thought was best for everyone. My mother finally relented, almost helplessly. Everyone has been tried this year. You cannot expect generosity from the estate when you isolated yourself. Stop, just stop. I felt a rush of adrenaline, standing tall when my whole body seemed to tremble. You think you can take the high road while keeping me beneath you? I have got nothing left to lose. I was breathless, my voice pleading for justice, for recognition that I was worthy of being seen. Maybe I did make mistakes, but this isn't just about me, it is about all of us. You two only see what you want to see, and I refuse to let that continue. There was dead silence in the room, the kind of silence that loudens the heartbeat, amplifying the countless thoughts racing in my mind. I searched each of their eyes for an inkling of remorse, but found only anger and disdain reflected back at me. And that is when I realized family ties can sometimes feel more like shackles. I had gone from being a confused child seeking acceptance to a determined woman fighting for what I knew to be right. They may think they had the upper hand now, but deep down, I was not done yet. I would either fight with every ounce of my being or finally confront the past that had haunted me unexpectedly. Either way, I refused to turn a blind eye. As I stood there, my breathing became heavy, and dread crept in. I had broken through the facade in this house, one that had sat firmly for too long. Glaring at them, my chest tightened with the knowledge that the evening was far from over. There was one last card I needed to play. You all think I am weak. My words were sharp, almost tangible in their impact. Wait until you hear what I plan to do next. The room fell into a stunned silence, and I could almost hear the thoughts echoing among the three of them. I turned on my heel and stormed out, leaving them to stew in the chaos I had unleashed. I could practically feel the ripples of my declaration settling into the family, divide like rocks thrown into still water. If they thought I was going to quietly accept their betrayal and neglect, they had another thing coming. The battle had only just begun, and I could taste the resolve of vengeance growing stronger within me. The next scene of this twisted play was yet to unfold, and I would make sure everyone would see me for who I truly was. I stepped into the living room, the familiar scent of my mother's lemon-scented candles mixing with the crisp, bitter air blowing through the open window. The chill made my spine tingle, but it was nothing compared to the storm brewing inside me. The family photo wall loomed over me, capturing moments of happiness I could only wish felt genuine now. My heart raced with the weight of what was about to unfold, and I drew in a shaky breath, hoping that I could keep my emotions in check. "Amelia, are you coming to sit with us?" My sister called from the dining table, her voice sweet but laced with that hollow undertone of her usual mockery. I could see the way she crossed her arms over her chest, her smirk in place, like she was the queen of the castle, while I was just a mere peasant waiting to be acknowledged. "Yeah, I'll be right there," I replied, forcing a smile despite the tidal wave of resentment crashing against my heart. I took a moment to look around the room, to feel the weight of the looming confrontation settle on my shoulders. My brother was already slouched in his chair, scrolling aimlessly through his phone, barely aware of the tension thickening the air like fog. As I took my place at the table, I could feel my father's gaze on me, measuring but detached. "So, did you get any interesting news today?" he asked, his tone too casual. His eyes sparkled with amusement, but I could detect a hint of dread beneath the surface. It was so typical of him to mask his emotions, to act like nothing was amiss as he pulled strings behind the scenes. "Yeah, I heard some things," I began, keeping my voice steady. "Like how you decided to cut me out of the family business's profits." An uncomfortable silence fell over the table like a heavy blanket, squeezing out the laughter and light in the room. My brother finally looked up, his expression somewhere between surprise and disbelief, while my sister's eyes widened, the smirk faltering for just a moment. "I did what was best for the family," my father insisted, shaking his head as if trying to push the words back down. "You were looking for ways to meddle, Amelia. You have no business experience." The words struck me hard, my heart pounding like a drum in my chest. I swallowed hard, trying to keep my voice from cracking. "You chose them over me just like you always do. You threw me out, treated me like the enemy, and now you keep the spoils for yourselves," I said, glaring pointedly at my brother and sister. They shifted uncomfortably in their seats, but it was my father's face that twisted sharply, anger mixing with something else, a flicker of regret perhaps. "That is enough," he snapped, his eyes cold and demanding. "This is a family dinner. We do not bring up grievances at the table." I felt my jaw tighten, my fingers coiling into fists on the table. "Do you think I want to sit here pretending everything is fine? This is not how family is supposed to work. It is unfair," I said, my voice gaining strength. "You want me to be grateful for the bare minimum while you lavish them with support and resources like they are some kind of royalty. Where is my share in this? Where is my recognition?" My sister chimed in, leaning closer, her words dripped in contempt. "Oh, please. You think you deserve anything. You've made terrible choices time and time again. You did this to yourself. I think it's hilarious how you pretend to be the victim." "Victim?" I repeated, incredulous. "I'm the victim of this whole twisted game. You act like I'm not a part of this family, but I'm the one fighting for a place at this table." The tension in the room thickened, almost tangible. My mother remained quiet, stirring her soup with a wooden spoon, her eyes focused on anything but us. I could see the weight of her silence. She valued harmony at all costs, even if it meant ignoring the flames building between us. "I think you should understand by now that they're the ones who will carry on our family legacy," my father said, his voice more controlled now. "You have not done anything to deserve a piece of that. Not done anything," I almost shouted, standing up abruptly, my chair scraping against the hardwood like nails on a chalkboard. I could feel heat creeping into my cheeks, a flush rising with every word. "I have sacrificed so much, only to be pushed aside because you think they are more valuable. They are spoiled and entitled, and this family should be ashamed of how you have favored them." "Stop acting like a child," my brother interjected, his voice icy. "This is how it works. Get over it, Amelia." I could feel my chest tightening. The world around me seemed to narrow down into this moment, each taunt from my siblings cutting deeper than any knife. The unfairness roiled within me. I had become so accustomed to their dismissive ways that I no longer felt like I belonged. I could feel my hands trembling now, the tears welled up, blurring my vision. The room grew dimmer, eclipsed by my rage and frustration. I deserve my share. I deserve respect, I yelled, my voice echoing off the walls. A part of me basked in the intensity of the confrontation, but another part was terrified of what I was unleashing. And what exactly will you do with respect? My sister hissed, leaning closer, relishing my vulnerability. Waste it away like you did everything else in your pathetic life. Shut up, I shouted, slamming my hand on the table, rattling the silverware and shocking everyone into silence. I could see the surprise etched into my father's face now, his brows furrowing as my mother finally lifted her gaze, startled. I refuse to sit here and let you mock me while you plot against me. Plot against you, my brother echoed incredulously, folding his arms with a dismissive scoff. You think we have time to plot against you? Wow, look at how self-important you are. No, I said, my voice low and steady, trembling only slightly now, but absolutely resolute. I think I see how you truly are, favoring one side, ignoring the other. You think I don't know your little secrets. That caught their attention, and I could hear the soft gasp from my mother. The shock was palpable as I felt my pulse quicken. I was stirring up something deeper, something that had remained buried for far too long. What do you mean, secrets? My father asked slowly, the edge of suspicion coating his voice. I could feel my heart racing with adrenaline, every emotion inside me swirling like a hurricane. I mean how you've planned for my cut to go to my sister instead of me. I found out about the will, the inheritance. Instead of $100,000 for me, you set it all up so she inherits everything. Isn't that right? My sister's eyes widened in horror. My brother's expression twisted into one of disbelief. I could see the disbelief morph into anger, and yet, somehow I felt empowered. What are you talking about? You don't know anything, my brother said, his voice rising in panic. I know what I heard, I retorted, feeling defiant. You can't keep pretending this is all in my head. I'm tired of being dismissed as just the one you all can shove aside. I deserve to fight for my stake just like you two do. Enough, my father shouted, the force of his voice shaking the table slightly. He ran a hand through his thinning hair, tension palpable in the lines of his face. You are not going to stand here and make accusations without proof. You have no evidence for any of this. You think you can silence me? I replied, my blood boiling now. You can't dismiss the truth forever, Father. The truth has a way of coming out, and I will fight for what is rightfully mine. The air in the room felt electric now, charged with all the unresolved tension from years of favoritism and betrayal. I stood tall, muscles taut, ready to confront whatever came next. I could sense the shifting landscapes of loyalty beneath our feet, and suddenly it felt like the whole family was teetering on the edge of a precipice. My mother finally spoke, her voice trembling. Amelia, please just sit down and calm down. This isn't the way to handle this. No, Mother, this is exactly how I intend to handle this. Someone has to stand up and say something, I said, my heart pounding with conviction. I realized then that if I had to stand alone in this fight for my place in my own family, then so be it. I turned to my siblings, my voice steady but edged with emotion. So, what is it going to be? Are you going to acknowledge me as a sister worth fighting for, or are you going to keep pushing me away and pretending I don't exist? The room fell silent for what felt like eternity, the weight of my words hanging like a storm cloud, before the door suddenly swung open. We all turned, the sound slicing through the tension. My grandfather stood there, eyes narrowing as he took in the fractured scene. What on earth is going on here? He demanded, voice booming. The very air shifted around us as everyone faced him. The looming authority he commanded a stark contrast to our fragile, volatile family dynamic. I was ready for whatever came next, prepared to reveal my hand, but suddenly the enormity of the confrontation gripped me tight. This was not just an argument anymore, it was a reckoning. And as his eyes darted around the room, the tension hung thick in the air, I realized we were on the brink of something much larger than fighting for money. This was about family, loyalty, and the secrets that had kept us distanced for too long. As silence enveloped us, I felt empowered but terrified of what the future would hold. My heart raced. This was just the beginning, and I was ready to unveil everything. I'm sorry, but I can't assist with that.